What is going on with Addison Rae? Once TikTok's girl next door, Addison Rae has undergone a dramatic style evolution, trading in her classic, approachable aesthetic for avant-garde, impractical, and sometimes downright bizarre ensembles. Naturally, the internet has questions. Has she lost her mind, or is there a method to this madness? And of course, there is. Addison's approach is not new. In fact, it's a well-worn strategy that's been used by stars in Hollywood for decades. Coco Moco is a TikToker who has made a career out of accurately predicting marketing trends and helping people get ahead of the curve. In 2024, she posted a video talking about one specific way that you can tell if someone is going to be famous or not. It's a theory called the Hollywood hair theory and suggests that a signature, memorable, distinct hairstyle is often a predictor of stardom. In her video, she uses Chappell Roan as an example. Of course, most of us know who she is today, but Chappell had actually been releasing music for years with little mainstream traction. It was when she embraced her now iconic, bold, drag-inspired image, dyeing her curly hair a fiery red, her career seemed to take off overnight. And if we look back throughout history, the Hollywood hair theory seems to be tried and true. From Princess Diana's signature feathered haircut, Marilyn Monroe's platinum blonde hairstyle, Twiggy's mod pixie, even Justin Bieber's swoopy hairstyle, and in recent years, Swedish influencer Matilda Djurf's butterfly haircut. When it comes to pop stars, however, it's not just about the hair, it's not just about the music, it's about crafting a persona so visually distinct that it becomes instantly recognizable. And oftentimes, the more polarizing, unexpected, and even controversial, the better. Why? Because the human brain thrives on distinction. We categorize, classify, and remember what stands out. And in an oversaturated media landscape today, blending in is a career death sentence. Now, of course, you don't need a degree in fashion to know that clothing and overall image have long been tools for distinguishing group from group, social class from social class. As far back as recovered textiles date, fashion and clothing have been used as a status symbol and distinguisher, separating the elite from the lower classes. Sometimes these distinctions were actually completely unintentional. For example, if you ever watch a movie set in ancient Roman times, emperors and aristocrats are often depicted with pale skin and dark circles around their eyes, an unintentional byproduct of a life spent indoors, which was a luxury that only the extremely wealthy and the elite could afford, while the working classes spent time outside laboring away. Similarly, even still today, in Asian cultures, pale skin is the ultimate beauty standard. Just like in ancient Rome, pale porcelain skin has historically been associated with wealth and freedom from manual work. We as humans throughout history have essentially become programmed to expect and recognize these distinctions between different groups and social classes, which throughout time has made experimental and boundary-pushing styles more acceptable and justifiable among the upper classes. Celebrities and even wannabe celebrities leverage this innate instinct to rise in the ranks and cement their larger-than-life personas. Now, the Industrial Revolution of the 1800s, which we could call the grandfather of fast fashion, made it easier than ever for the lower classes to emulate the style of the upper classes, and today those distinctive lines are even more blurred. But despite this, these indicators and distinctions in style and appearance still remain. Today, celebrities, and especially those who rely on image to remain relevant and make their money, constantly introduce new trends to reinforce their status and influence and differentiate themselves from the masses. And the moment those trends become accessible to the general public, they move on. The BBL era of the 2010s is the perfect example of this. A stark contrast to the heroin chic, ultra skinny body trends of the 1990s and the 2000s. Throughout the 2010s, celebrities like Kim Kardashian and her sisters glorified exaggerated curves, leading to a wave of surgical enhancements among the public in order to get the same look. But as soon as that became mainstream, and it seemed like every woman had the same figure, those same celebrities pivoted. And today they have ditched the curvy aesthetic for, once again, ultra thin frames, often aided by expensive treatments like Ozempic that most people can't afford. It's a pattern we see time and time again. The elite introduce something bold and distinctive that sets them apart, the masses adopt it, and the elite abandon it in favor of something new. It's a play for relevance and a way to position oneself as distinct, different, and ahead of the crowd. Because if history has shown us one thing, when it comes to fame and influence, the bold and distinct don't just survive, they thrive. Now, when it comes to music and fashion, fashion. Not only are they quite possibly the most influential industries, but they are also extremely closely related. Of course, at their core, music and fashion are both forms of self-expression. For music, it reflects the inner state of the artist. It reflects their fears, their desires, their pain, their background, their life experiences. And in the same way, fashion tells a story. Whether we like it or not, what we choose to wear says a lot about who we are. And because we are all different, we all have different personalities, interests, upbringings, backgrounds. We all express ourselves differently. This is why we have both so many genres of music and also why we have so many different styles within fashion. It's also why we tend to see distinct styles emerge within different music genres. Music and fashion have always been intertwined, but their direct influence on one another really didn't truly take off until around the 1920s. The rise of jazz in the Roaring '20s brought more than just a new sound. It brought a cultural revolution. Speakeasies became hotspots for rebellion, and the women who frequented them, known as flappers, embraced a new kind of freedom. They traded their corsets and their many restrictive layers for thin, free-flowing dresses that allowed them to dance with ease. Their fashion and their image wasn't just about aesthetics, it was about movement, attitude, and rejection of societal restrictions. It was highly political, rebellious, and boundary pushing. This marked the beginning of music influencing fashion and being reflected in fashion, and the trend has only grown stronger over time. Today, we can associate specific styles with almost every genre of music. Each genre carries its own distinct aesthetic, shaped by the culture, history, and generation behind the music. Just as sound is a reflection of identity, so is style. When it comes to artists, and specifically pop stars, image becomes just as important as their music. Now, what defines a pop star? A quick Google search will tell you that a pop star is simply an artist who makes pop music. And another Google search will tell you that pop music is simply popular music. But the thing about popular is that what is popular in culture is highly dependent on the current values, the norms, the political climate of the time. As the world and people evolve, music also evolves alongside it, as does fashion. Because again, music and fashion are forms of self-expression. They reflect individuals, the world around them, and the relationship between people and the world around them. Considering these things, a better definition of a pop star could be an artist who has perfectly and successfully encapsulated and embodied a movement, a culture, and a generation in a way that resonates with the public. Pop stars essentially become representatives of their respective genre, generation, subculture, and community. Consider some of the most successful pop stars of the last 50 years. Madonna, a master of reinvention. Her rebellious, provocative style, cone bras and all, captured a generation pushing back against societal norms around gender, power, and sexuality. She didn't just follow trends, she set them, embodying the spirit of self-expression in the 80s and 90s. Prince, his fearless style, ruffled shirts, bold colors, high heels, and glam makeup, blurred gender lines, and redefined male pop star fashion. His blend of androgyny and extravagance embodied the spirit of self-liberation, resonating with the generation, challenging norms around identity. Britney Spears' Y2K fashion, schoolgirl skirts, low-rise jeans, sparkly crop tops, perfectly captured the era's obsession with sweet meets sexy pop princesses. And in recent years, Sabrina Carpenter, transitioning from Disney sweetheart to flirty and sultry pop princess. Her rebrand leans into vintage Hollywood glam. She channels a modern Marilyn Monroe, mirroring how a sweet, innocent Norma Jean reinvented herself into an unforgettable bombshell. And of course, Chappell Roan, with fiery red hair, drag-inspired makeup, and theatrical outfits, Chappell Roan champions radical self-expression. Her bold, campy style resonates with the generation that values freedom, inclusivity, and celebrating identity in all forms. All of these individuals who have made it to the top of their industry are larger-than-life people whose personalities were so strong that they ticked all of the boxes. They were attention-grabbing, often polarizing, even controversial, memorable, and relevant, which launched them to the top making them representatives of their culture and their community. These pop stars not only had the sound, they embodied cultural movements. Of course, when we talk about pop stars, we are not talking about just another musician. Pop stars aren't just musicians, they are performers. They are entertainers. They stand elevated above the rest of the world, including other celebrities, entertaining them. They exist in a heightened reality, transporting fans and listeners to other worlds. And just like costume design in film and TV, a pop star's wardrobe becomes a storytelling agent. Fashion is a form of nonverbal communication. And in music, just like film and TV, artists use their image and their clothing to complement the message of a song, the mood, and the themes of their music. Whether it's on stages around the world or on the streets, their clothes become more than a form of self-expression. They become a story in and of themselves. While others might be ridiculed for wearing something impractical or avant-garde, a pop star is celebrated as a creative force, and often a trendsetter. Impractical, bizarre, or theatrical outfits for pop stars are justified as an extension of their art. Whether it's Taylor Swift embedding Easter eggs in her outfits in music videos, concerts, or on the red carpet, or Lady Gaga making a political statement in her meat dress that was so on brand with her image, a pop star's fashion only amplifies their art and reinforces their brand. Because at the end of the day, that's all it is. Branding. And successful branding communicates the values, the personality, and the unique product of a brand. Successful branding is instantly recognizable and hard to forget. It's why no one can wear a red shirt and a pair of khakis without being called Jake from State Farm. It's why high, thick, long ponytails instantly bring Ariana Grande to mind. It's also why it's difficult to separate celebrities like Ariana Grande from their brand and imagine them as anyone else, which is why it was so difficult for viewers to see Glinda and not Ariana Grande when watching Wicked. A distinct, memorable, culturally relevant image is a prerequisite for a pop star. And especially in today's ever-increasing digital world, we're exposed to thousands of faces every single day through social media, image becomes the distinguisher. It becomes the selling point. And blending in is a career killer. Even the unforgettable, one-of-a-kind Marilyn Monroe understood the power of image when it comes to stardom. Before success, she was the sweet Norma Jean, just as beautiful, but Norma Jean was just like any other girl. And she understood that if she wanted fame, her sweet girl next door image wasn't going to cut it. She needed to completely rebrand. And it wasn't until she transformed into the platinum blonde giddy bombshell that her career took off. Her distinct, unforgettable image secured her spot as the most recognizable and famous woman arguably of all time. This brings us all the way back to Addison Rae, who has clearly done her homework. Over the past couple of years, Addison has strategically distanced herself from TikTok, almost vanishing from the platform entirely as she's worked behind the scenes to rebrand herself as a serious artist. In March 2021, she dropped her debut single, her very first song titled Obsessed. But it wasn't until last year in 2024 that her transformation seemed to truly level up, being photographed in seemingly bizarre, avant-garde, impractical outfits while out on the street. Embracing a bolder, more polarizing style, Addison strategically moved even further away from her TikTok roots, successfully sparking public curiosity before suddenly releasing two viral pop hits that quickly dominated social media. In a twist of irony, she not only leaned into the pop star image theory, but she seemed to make it the theme of her latest single, High Fashion, which is all about getting high on fashion. Blending sound and style on the stage and the streets is obviously a distinguisher of a pop star, and Addison Rae is clearly taking a page from their playbook. Music impacts all of our lives. It is deeply embedded in daily life. It impacts every single industry. Just think about what the world would be without music. It's present in movies, TV shows, fashion shows. It plays in our cars during road trips, at the gym during workouts, at restaurants during meals, during celebrations, parties, weddings. feelings. It's part of our best, saddest, happiest, and most intimate and personal moments, making musical artists ever present and influential in our lives. They are the ultimate influencers, these celebrities that entertain celebrities, the leaders and influencers of industries. And reaching such an influential position requires a larger-than-life personality, an entire image and persona. A pop star without a distinct, memorable look not only risks fading into the background, but risks not existing at all. And Addison Rae seems to be playing by the rules, crafting her own polarizing image that the world can't help but talk about. Whether or not it's enough for her to rise to the top, only time will tell. I'm Alexin, and this is Trends of the Times.